I go to my pending drawer, and most of it I'll dump out. My pending drawer, incidentally, is a little bit more advanced. In the back, I have the things that I want to keep for a longer period of time, but most of them get dumped very quickly. It is simply a system that saves time and saves anxiety on your part. There's one final suggestion that I'll make to you, and that's a to-be-read file. I keep it right in my briefcase because many times you get things that don't necessarily have any urgency, but you'd sure like to be able to read them and know what's in them. But if you never got around to them, maybe it wouldn't make too much difference. They go into my to-be-read file, and whenever I get put on hold on the telephone, whenever I'm traveling in an airplane or in some other way that I can divert my attention, whenever I'm resting and relaxing and would like to get to that stuff, I know right where it is, and I can go to it and accomplish what I want. The fifth suggestion. I think I can best describe this one with an example. It's a very personal example to me. A secretary who worked for me many years ago. It was a holiday Sunday afternoon, and I got a telephone call. And it was Linda, and her voice was trembling on the telephone. I knew there was a problem. She said, "Jim, we've had a serious automobile accident, and we've lost Michelle." Michelle was Linda's 13-year-old daughter. I don't know about you, I'm not very good in that kind of a situation. I tried to comfort Linda. I assured her that my wife and I would be there as quickly as we could get there. It was a few miles from our home, the hospital where they were. Linda was not hurt, her son was not hurt, but unfortunately her daughter was in such a position in the car that she was killed instantly. Now let me make a long story short here. I watched Linda over the course of the next couple of weeks, and I was amazed. I was amazed at the strength that she had in facing that tremendous adversity in her life. I thought, good heavens, if that was one of my children, I don't think I'd be able to stand up the way Linda stood up. So I asked her, I said, "Linda, how were you able to be so strong?" She said, "Well, Jim, you know, I type all of the material that you do, and you talk about balance in an individual's life. And that was about a year ago," she said, "and I looked at my relationship with my daughter, and I didn't have the kind of a relationship that I should have with my daughter. And I analyzed my time, and I realized I wasn't spending the time that I should spend with my daughter. And so a year ago, I changed my priorities. I changed my plans. And I set myself up as the mother that I always wanted to be. And I developed the relationship with Linda that was so very important to me." She said, "That's why I feel the peace that I feel now." So the fifth principle is have balance in your life. I challenge you as an individual, I challenge you as a manager to take the time to complete that time log, and about once every 6 months, determine just how you are spending your time. And is that the way you want to spend your time? Principle number 6 is fulfill your white-hot imperative. Write that down and let me explain what I mean by it. Your white-hot imperative. Much of the research that we've been doing recently with individuals indicates that those high-achieving individuals are different in at least one significant way from those people who achieve less in their life. They have found something that really gets them excited, and they allow themselves to be fulfilled in that area. Now, I don't know what that might be for you. It may or may not relate to the business area of your life. Let me give you a few examples. I have a daughter, for instance, whose white-hot imperative is dance. She's a ballerina. She loves it. She probably has no more academic ability than the rest of my children, but she gets straight A's because she's driven by that power toward perfection that she demonstrates in her dance, but she demonstrates it in every other area of her life. An interesting thing happened recently. She went off to college, got kind of out of the dance environment. Lo and behold, her grades began to slip a little until she realized that she was not fulfilling herself in the most important area for you, for her. I challenge you as managers to figure out what is the most exciting thing in your life. Please underline exciting. That's what the white-hot imperative is. It's not necessarily the most important thing. It might be something that other people look at and say, hey, that's not important. But it is to you. It might be, as we found it with some of our clients, bird watching. It might be competitive racquetball. It might be anything that happens to fulfill the most exciting thing in your life. I challenge you to look for it, to find it, and to give you the time to fulfill it. And I guarantee you, you'll be a better manager because of it. Item number 7. I believe that we can learn a lesson from the old logger. Now, I come from logging country, and there's a legend there of this old logger who could cut more trees and stack more wood than anybody else. He was getting up in age at this particular point in time, and there was a young logger who felt like he could beat this old logger in a contest. He had worked hard building up his endurance. He was about twice the size of this guy, and the guy was close to retirement age. He was confident that he could beat them. As they began the challenge that day, where they were going to cut wood and see how much was stacked, the young logger was even more confident as the day went forth, because he would occasionally look over and notice the old logger and see him sitting there on a chair resting. The young logger rested very little. At the end of the day, he was confident that he had won. But lo and behold, when they totaled the amount of wood that had been cut and stacked, the old logger again had won the contest. The young logger came up to him and he said, "This doesn't make sense." He says, "I'm in such good shape. You're close to retirement age." And he says, "Also, I noticed that you were periodically resting while I was working." The old logger raised his finger. He said, "Oh, it's true that I was resting," but he says, "Perhaps you didn't notice. There were 2 other things that I was doing as I rested." He said, "First of all, I sat there and I looked ahead of me in the woods, and I saw which trees should be cut and which way they should fall